know, like you saw, there's a lot of filmmakers in the room. So you're saying that everything is sort of an audience engagement. That's how we're going to solve the marketing problem, because everybody here could create an awesome piece of content, but then there's 50 million other people that can create awesome content and throw it on YouTube. How do you cut through that white noise and kind of create signal and get people engaged? Are you saying it's an audience aggregation issue?
Well, what I'm saying is that that's where I enjoyed Kickstarter as a clearinghouse, and I'm sure there's going to be other companies like this. It's the walls are coming down that even with all of the social networking, where people can communicate directly with you. Now, that involvement is going to make the difference, is what I was saying. But it's also, I also stop and I think about companies like Apple who just say, we don't want to listen to what you have to say, we're going to give you what we know you want. And they've had a pretty successful time with that. But right now, the internet seems to be all about freedom and communication. And being able to collect that input from people. Even if you do your first project and get their attention, it's in that involvement, that connection, that I think will be most successful. Did that kind of answer the question?
Yeah, I mean, it circles back to what we first started talking about, which is sort of clutter. I mean, I don't see the studios going away. You know, there may be more players as the the barriers to entry get smaller. But there's still going to be a need for whatever the medium or the platform is. There's still going to be a need for curation in some form, as I said before. Whether that's a channel, whether it's essentially a marketed piece of content. There's still going to be a need for that, and that's the way that that there will be cut through, and it will take resources to achieve that. Whether that's essentially paying a platform or channel provider to make sure that happens, or whether it's by other forms of marketing. But it's still going to take a resource to get to that critical level.
So we've seen some of the Web 2.0 celebrities, the people that were getting 40, 50 million views on their videos and have a million people subscribe to their channel, like Kev Jumba and Jim Marbles and some of the famous people in that space. We see them all trying to make the jump to traditional media and be in a studio release movie and create long-form content and be on a traditional television show. What does that look like to you guys? What do you think? How's that going to pan out? This is a group of people that have had an audience that have been used to watching everything for free from these people, and now they're trying to make that jump and be movie stars and television stars and recording artists, where people have to pay to get that content. You think that jump's going to work for them?
Well, I think it's with anybody who's talented. If you create a product that is what the audience wants to hear, they're going to vote with their dollars. People are going to buy what is available from that artist. And that's a wonderful position to be in when you have one success and you can make it into others. I don't think anybody would just say, I received their work for free, therefore how dare they charge me for the next project, especially if they're jumping to a television series or, as you say, more music from an album. It would just make sense that if they were successful in one market, why wouldn't they be successful in the next one? Unless they come out and say something like, I'm for free music, and then start charging, that's just shooting yourself in the foot. Or if you say, I could finance my own project, but pay me to do it. It all depends on that, how they're selling themselves. But I can't see a problem with people expanding their career, especially if they have an audience.
I guess I don't really view it as a change. I think it's just a slightly different way of the way things have always happened. an actor doesn't achieve overnight success in a big film. They spend years working on stage or working at their craft, going to auditions. There's a lot of equivalency. Bands you do a lot of touring before they achieve success. So it's whether it's that form of getting the message out or using the a free form of the internet. I view it as very similar. It's essentially promotion, and you get to that point where there's a critical mass, and you're able to make that jump to the next level.
Paying your dues with the benefit of the internet to produce what's in it.
I disagree with both of you. I think it's going to be extremely difficult. I think that the me generation, especially the ones that are 14, 15, that have never paid to watch a Harvard Sailing Club video or a Jenna Marbles video, and then they turn around and the videos are no longer available for free, and they're asked to pull out their credit card and pay for them. I think it's going to be very difficult.
Well, I misunderstood your point in this case. You're saying taking the same content that had already been free and monetizing it, that's not acceptable. But if you're saying that they're taking a jump and going from one market where they were successful with their free video and then going into something new, which was the way I understood your question, where they're going and producing being part of a television show or a movie, but it's not the content that you're getting for free being monetized. I would be very much against something that was for free, solely charging me for it. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I've noticed lately that there's a point where they're saying, okay, well, if you want to listen to the old ones, you have to pay for it. And I won't do it. I'll just say, okay, well, now I know I have to listen to them and not wait so long. But because I don't appreciate that unless, there's an archive or something. But the point is that once you've given me a gift, don't take it away from me. So I misunderstood your question.
Yeah, I guess what I meant was when they jump and start producing their own feature-length movies, and it's not available for free on their YouTube channel. So we sort of misunderstood each other. And then what does that mean? Are those people going to make the jump? Michael Gallagher had 3 million people that followed his YouTube channel, and then he made a horror movie called Smiley, and it wasn't successful because he was asking people, hey, you need to pay for this film.
Well, if he was doing, let's say they announced him in the Walking Dead movie, okay, and he's cast his role in the Walking Dead movie, I wouldn't expect to go to the movie and
that's different. Yeah,
that's the way I'm looking at it. But if they're staying with their own channel, you have to be able to say these people can't do it for free forever. If you want to continue to reproducing the content that you're enjoying, I could see future episodes or future products being monetized for the reason of these people have to work too. If you want it, you have to pay for it to a certain degree. It's the same thing about companies that will give you nowadays. They've been discounting DVDs of the first season of a show, hoping that you'll love it and want to go buy the other seasons instead of what most people do is they buy the first one and wait for the others to come down in price. But if you get hooked, you'll come back. And that's not a bad business model, unless they've, as you're saying, they've built an entire career on this free product. In a way, it's not fair to the artist. But if they're crossing the line from something that they're producing as a free product on YouTube to working with a big studio who has expenses, and when that money is made, it's for the entire project, that's when I fully see supporting it financially.
I mean, I probably view it as the experience. If it's the same experience, then no. So, people aren't going to pay for the same experience. If it's different in some form, whether that's much better quality, whether it's a better way to experience it, whether the form is much better quality. If there's a way to differentiate it and make it easy for people, that they will pay for it. But I do agree that if it's exactly the same, that's a real challenge.
I'm going to ask one last question, and then I want to ask that same question of the group. And this is something that Susan brought up, and I think it's really a really good question for all of us to think about. What defines success in this new digital content monetization world that we live in? And I'll give you an example. We had a film, and it was an independently financed film that had some television stars in it, and it had over 3 million trailer views on YouTube. And the filmmaker was completely ecstatic. The film didn't perform. Not at the box office, not on DVD, not on iTunes, not on cable VOD. So what defines success?
I have a very basic answer for what defines success. And that's having people enjoy your work. Really, so many of us, especially with new media, are able to produce projects at little or no cost, depending on what the size of the project is. If you do something bigger than, if you break even and people love it, you've achieved a great deal of success. If you lose money, I don't know that necessarily know that that's a great success, but if people loved your work and were touched, then I would say it is a success. But there's different levels of what you call success in that way. And to know that I've had an effect on someone in my work, and know that people appreciated it, and that I knew that what I was doing could outlive me 100 years. If it was something that people would just come back with, that's what success is to me. A lot of people would then say, well, if you have a number of hits, if you have this much money, if you've made millions of, those are wonderful benefits. And I would hope people get a chance to enjoy the work.
So in this case, the filmmaker was not able to pay back his investors.
People enjoy the trailer, but they didn't enjoy the movie. I didn't necessarily think that I'd call that a great success. If he has to find other ways to pay back his investors, I wouldn't necessarily call it a great success. But if you love something and other people love it, and you do have someone behind you that will help it be monetized, they should be able to pay back the investors at some point. And coming into the point of being able to have achieved that, I'd be happy to shake the person's hand and say, you did a good job.
Hard to disagree with the creativity answer. So, yeah, I mean, as you say, there's all sorts of way to analytically define success, and that's I guess where I'd go to is trying to work out why there was such a disparity between the apparent interest and the ultimate success, but it's also the nature of this business of creating creative content. It's not always going to work, and sometimes it's layered. It's built on project after project, and pinpointing where success will happen is extremely difficult. All the studios have a formula for the way they do things, but it doesn't always work.